Hello and welcome to In the Spotlight with Quocirca, the definitive podcast on digital disruption in the print industry. I'm Louella Fernandez, Director of Quocirca, and today I'm joined by Joerg Hartmann, MD of Konica Minolta, Germany and Austria. Today we'll be discussing sustainability, security, AI and some other trends that we're seeing in the print industry and predictions for 2024. So welcome to the show, Joerg. It's great to have you here today.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. And it's great to be with you. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to our discussion.
So if we could start, if you could tell us a bit about yourself, your career history and your role at Konica Minolta today.
Yeah, so as you already stated, I'm MD for Germany and Austria at Konica Minolta. I'm also carrying a second role, which is representing Europe as corporate VP in our headquarters in Japan. Before joining Konica Minolta, which was about 5 years ago, I'm actually grew up in the IT industry, so spending time with Fujitsu as well as with HP. And this is actually also what one of my main purposes is right now, really to run this transformation, so in adding additional services and running some digital activities inside Konica Minolta. And I think some of it we are going to touch later during our conversation.
Yeah, that's great. So as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about a couple of areas, so primarily sustainability and security, but also hearing about emerging trends like AI. So firstly on sustainability, could you share what Konica Minolta is doing in this space? I know it's a very complex area in terms of what Konica Minolta is doing internally, but also how it's helping its customers. So it'd be great if you could share what Konica Minolta is doing at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. As you said, so it's a wide range covering internal and external activity. So maybe let's start with some of the general and external stuff. So I think one of the key statements is that we as a company are really planning to be net zero in 2050, which we are not alone. Which a lot of companies made this statement. Still some time to go, and I think, on top of some of the small steps we are currently doing, so in this time frame to come, we have really some bigger steps and maybe even some disruptive stuff to happen to really achieve this, because it's a challenging goal. So until then, we also need to look into using circular components or circular material, and some of it is also pretty down to technical stuff. So I mean, when you look into the print technology, if we could lower the temperature for the fixing unit, so would dramatically reduce power consumption, and less power consumption means as well, so less CO2. And this, there's a lot of baby steps right now that are happening, right? The other topic is really looking into how we can optimize the standard service delivery in terms of toner. So we are doing also so-called Clean Planet program, where we are recycling toner bottles, doing some refill. So therefore, it's not only the machines, but also on how we can run the operations. And also when we look into what I mentioned as internal, I mean, it's about using green energy, but it's also to, for example, put vehicles in the car fleet, and not using hybrid engines, but really electrical engines. So it's a wide range.
Yeah, and you mentioned there about the actual MFPs in terms of their sustainability credentials and using recycled materials and energy efficiency. Are you seeing that your customers are increasingly demanding those types of capabilities? Are you seeing it more in RFPs? It'd be interesting just to understand, particularly if there's any particular industry sectors that have sustainability higher on the agenda.
It's actually quite general, and I mean, looking into some of the European directives, it's also required. So on one hand side, we are, as a company, we are required to deliver those so-called CSRD reportings, but our customers are as well. So therefore, in the RFPs and in questions around sourcing, this is ranking very high. So it's also about the whole supply chain, which gives a lot more importance. So therefore, when we're answering RFPs today, looking into the tech specs of the systems, nearly is the same level of importance, or is ranked as the same level of importance than everything around topics than sustainability, circular economy, and all of this. So it's really raising in importance.
Yeah, that's definitely what we're seeing we've just published today, actually, our sustainability trends report, and we're seeing that it's definitely higher on the agenda, that more organisations are starting to look at the print environment in terms of potentially how they can reduce environmental impact through reducing paper usage and reducing print volume. So in relation to that, can you share anything in terms of what you've seen in terms of print volume recovery since the pandemic? And if you're seeing a sort of ongoing decline in print volumes, or whether you're seeing some sectors are starting to recover and perhaps being back to pre-COVID levels?
On your question on the print volumes, what we are typically doing internally, we are using pre-COVID, like 2019, a bit as the reference, and when you take the print volumes in 2019, we've seen a big dip in 2020, when all the lockdowns did happen, and we've seen now a bit of recovery, but this still shows about, let's say, a 5% decline compared to what we had before COVID, so like before the 2019 situation. And as you completely rightly pointing out, is the 5% is something which is a general, let's say, decline in volumes, but industries have been completely different. So we've seen actually in verticals like public, like logistics, like healthcare, even an increase, where we had in topics like finance, automotive, and some of the insurance companies, even a higher decline. And I think this is something we will also see going forward, that there will be clearly splits on the print volumes, because the level of digitalization in those industries is completely different.
Okay, so in terms of your customers that are accelerating their digitization initiatives, are you seeing that more of your customers are focusing on driving deeper understanding of digitization in their MPS engagements? And is that something you're encompassing into your offering?
I mean, the managed print services are actually a really good starting point for any digitalization project, because what's typically always part of the MPS service is that we help our customers to optimize the print environment by detailed analytics. So what is printed on which machine? What's the trend, and all of this? And this is typically a very good starting point. And another cool indicator is looking at scan volumes as an example. And when you find areas where scan volumes getting bigger, or maybe even bigger than what is printed or copied, it always a small indication of that there is something cooking. And taking this as a starting point helps to analyze. And those projects might be in the beginning small, might be very focused. So it could be something which is pretty common. Everything to look into invoicing. But we can also look into things like customer complaints, and a lot of other activities where the MFP in this digital process could be either a starting point or even an end point. And that's exactly the work we are doing. But it's always taking what we know from the MPS part to take this forward, to take this data forward into digitalization projects.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think data is a real opportunity for differentiation in the MPS market in terms of uncovering opportunities for digital transformation. And I'm curious in terms of how you use that data, because I know that Konica Minolta has quite in-depth analytics and assessment capabilities. Does your channel use that as well in the SMB space, or is it something that's more of a direct offering?
Partially they use it as well, partially it's shared, but sometimes even the channel has its own offerings. But for me, honestly speaking, this is also one of the development areas where this is something we might leverage in a broader range with our partners.
And then coming on to security, because I think cybersecurity is clearly top of mind for most businesses today. And we did some research earlier this year around print-related data breaches and just the security incidents increasing. And I'm just interested to know what you're seeing in that space and how Konica Minolta is helping its customers better protect their print environment.
It's a very important topic you are raising, and I think in a lot of areas today it's a bit underplayed, right? Because sometimes still there's the thinking, well, printers are those devices which are connected via USB and it's just printing, and the reality today is different. So when you look into the big MFP devices, so it's also like on our devices, it's a bit like, let's call it a bit like a tablet, even like a smartphone. So we use Marketplace, so you can install apps on it, and therefore it becomes a real device as part of the IT infrastructure. And when you look into the digitalisation activities we were talking about, and if this gets an integrated part into the processes, user credentials have to be used on those devices as well. So, for example, to get into the Microsoft Azure AD or into others. So it's an integral part of the IT infrastructure, and therefore it deserves the same attention and the same caring like you use on your notebook, smartphone, tablet. So, and this is something where really the security offering for the print infrastructure needs to be integrated into the full IT security. And this is exactly where we are putting our offerings, or where we are having exactly those discussions with our customers. So typically underplayed and definitely needs a lot more attention.
Yes, so in terms of MPS and managed IT convergence, we are seeing that more customers are looking for a single supplier for both managed print and managed IT. In terms of what Konica Minolta are doing in that space, I know you've made acquisitions around managed IT services. Are you seeing that customers are coming to Konica Minolta for single services across both managed IT and managed print?
It depends. Most of the cases, it's really split. We acquired a company nearly 10 years ago, and this is now driven in two aspects. So from an IT service perspective, looking into the German market, we are driving this as infrastructure managed service as one aspect. And the other aspect is much more in terms of software services around ERP, around CRM. And the security part, even though it has been run in the past as a dedicated kind of service or as a dedicated team, in the meantime, we've integrated this into the managed infrastructure business, because it's definitely an integrated element of that. And so we find customers that use this service from us, and where we have a combined service, but we have others where we are in very close discussions with those kind of security providers to ensure, for example, that firmware updates can be done, or what the security status of our devices is.
Yeah, because we've been looking very closely at this kind of convergence between MPS and managed IP services. And I think it's been successful in some areas and not in others. And I think from a customer point of view, it's understanding the capabilities of the MPS provider to deliver IT services, or vice versa. And I think it's all down to partnerships. And you sort of mentioned about security services partnerships there. I think that's quite critical to success in that space. So yeah, it's interesting to hear that you are working with customers there. And I wanted to move on to artificial intelligence. So, obviously it's a lot of hype around AI, and don't have the time to go into it in a lot of detail. But in terms of Konica Minolta using AI as an emerging technology from a product perspective, and perhaps how you're using it internally, but also with customers, it'd be really interesting to get your views on AI. And, there's lots of risks and opportunities, and how Konica Minolta is addressing it.
To be honest, for some of it, in our industry, it already has been there. It's not just, let's say, articulated maybe in that way, because when you think of classical OCR functions, it's exactly this kind of document recognition, which has been there for quite a while. But this is getting a lot more intelligent now. Yeah, so when it comes to analyzing invoices, yeah, so this goes a bit back exactly to what we discussed in terms of the digitalization. Yeah, so there's a couple of projects and solutions we are developing on our own. Yeah, for example, based on the Azure AI technology, which is important to us, being also a Microsoft Gold partner, where also this link comes into the IT infrastructure topics. There's a lot more to come in this digitalization processes. On the other hand, we are making big use of AI from some of the internal services of our customer services. Yeah? So, for example, we launched a couple of months ago a voice bot that is taking orders for consumables from our customers. Yeah? So now we can really extend the range of being reached. Yeah? So, and this voice bot is then connected to our SAP system, meaning it's putting directly the orders into our system, and then customers will get toner shipments. And this is working actually really, really good. Yeah, so I was quite impressed about the first results. And for sure, we are also using classic AI to analyze our machine data. Yeah, so I mean, there's also those buzzwords like predictive maintenance. It's something that can be used for customers that have multiple devices in one location to optimize. But if you have, let's say, a lot of customers with single devices, it doesn't make a lot of sense. In some areas, it makes sense, but it definitely delivers much more data insights and gives us predictions in terms of product quality and other stuff. So on one hand, big buzzword, big future to come, but we've already been there, at least in some areas already.
Yeah, no, I think that's really true in terms of AI being used, as you say, for predictive maintenance and analytics and supporting consumables and supplies in advance. And it sounds like you're taking that technology further as well. So definitely be interested to follow that. And, I think from a customer service perspective, we're already seeing how AI is being applied. So I think the industry is already, like you say, using it already, but there's still more opportunities which we're yet to see. So I'll definitely watch this space. So in terms of, you've touched on a bit, what Konica Minolta is planning to do in the AI space. What's next for Konica Minolta in terms of its strategy? Is there anything in particular it's looking at in terms of product development, service offerings? Obviously we touched on sustainability and security, but for 2024, is there anything in particular that you'll be focusing on?
Yeah, in that sense, and even though we briefly touched on this, but I wanted to mention two specific topics. Yeah, so is really like we said. So the managed print services are going to involve much more into real managed services, including IT infrastructure and security. Because this is something is really required from a customer perspective. On the other hand, it's also something from our side where we are demanding to get all devices connected as industrial IoT devices to the internet, because it gives us this capability of using data, but as well in delivering much higher share of remote support. And for example, to ensure automatic updates, firmware updates, to keep security at latest stage. So, but also to really optimize, as I said, the service part. So that's a big one. And to move that forward. The second topic is, and we also briefly touched on this, is but to raise customer services, or can say customer self-service. And we've done a lot of work on our e-commerce portal, where actually when we come to the service level agreements, that those things can be reported easily or monitored easily, or even some of the requests or service requests can be done by customer self-service. And it's actually to really optimize the interface to the customer and to keep data quality quite high. And it makes it a lot easier, for example, also for our customers to review where we are, in terms of quality of delivery, what the status is. They can even monitor their print volumes on their own if they want, contract status, status of the service tickets, status of consumable deliverables. So we want to get with this customer self-service to a much more transparent level on what we are delivering. Yeah, so those are, when you just talk in this time frame of 2024, the two major topics for us.
Yeah, so based on the fact that print volumes are declining, and I think the industry has to consider how to offset those print volume declines with perhaps a move into digital solutions or scan and capture solutions. What are your views on how the industry can address that, and what is Konica Minolta planning in that area?
Yeah, very good question, but it's a very dangerous one. Yeah, and the reason I marked it as a dangerous one, because on top level, you might see this being offset. But managing the two is two completely different businesses which need different attention. Yeah, so meaning when print volumes go down, I mean, you need less consumables. Potentially, field service is going to change. Yeah, it's a different margin business. Yeah, so it's about actually managing a business down in a proper way. At the same time, and there you need different talent, different people, and it's also completely different in terms of implementing it. The solution business requires exactly this IT knowledge, solution knowledge. It's a lot more professional service. So it's about building up a new business. Yeah? So therefore, from a top level, you can look at it offsetting it, but in real life, it's managing one business down and one business up, and this requires two completely different skill sets.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting in terms of the different talent that's required to address the new digital solutions businesses and so on. And yeah, that's a really good point that it demands a different organizational structure as well. I'm curious, because we're in kind of predictions season at the moment for 2024 as well. Is there any one particular trend that you think will be key to the print industry in 2024?
Depends really on the market size. Yeah. So let's say on the customer, the market size, customer size. It's exactly like you said. So for the big customers, it's the service delivery. It's the talks we are having right now are much more about the service delivery or the managed services than the hardware. This is something which will be clearly driven in that segment. And when we look into other areas, it's going to be a bit of let's say working from home support and even a stronger shift in the direction of A4. Yeah.
No, that's great. I think 2024 will be a really interesting year in terms of seeing how the return to the office really plays out. I think this year has been quite mixed in terms of, whether organisations are been mandating return to the office policies, and that obviously always has a key impact on print volumes and how user behaviour is changing. So I think, next year will be key to seeing how the office kind of reinvents itself and is still relevant to the hybrid workplace today. But I really appreciate you taking the time to join me. It's great to get an update from Konica Minolta, because we haven't had a discussion with Konica Minolta for some time on the podcast. So I really appreciate you taking the time to join me today.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Yeah, and it was great talking to you, and hopefully we will meet and together soon for some of the updates and see if our predictions for 2024 came true.
So thank you for joining today's episode of In the Spotlight with Quocirca. For more information, please visit quocirca.com and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks again for joining, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.